BrightenÂ's sister-in-law, or the CarrierÂ's story. Henry Lawson. At a point where the old road crosses the river, and turns to the right, I decamped with the team. And the horses was all fixed up for the night. I deep into the town to carry a load to the Kajagong. And I taken the youngster, Harry, on a trip as I promised him long. I had 7 more, and another that died at the age of 3. But they all took arter the mother, and Harry took arter me. And from the tiniest lady 'twas always his fondest dream to go on the roads with his daddy, and help him to drive the team. He was bright at the school and clever, the best of the youngsters there. And the teacher said there was never a lad that promised so fair. And I half forgot life's battle, and its long, hard-beaten road, in the sound of the youngster's prattle from his perch on top o' the load. And when he was tired o' riding I'd lift him down for a walk, and he'd say, at my silence chidin', "Now, Daddy, tell me some talk." And oft by the campfire sittin', when the bush was round us wild, I'd yarn by the hour, forgettin' that Harry was only a child. But today he'd been strange and quiet, and lay on the chaff bags still. And though he'd bravely deny it, I knowed as the boy was ill. He said he was only dosey, in his queer old-fashioned way. And I fixed him up warm and cozy in the hammock under the dray. I fried him some eggs and some bacon, which I cold and get him to touch. And it set my heart a-achin', for he'd always eaten so much. I wandered about half silly, and thought that my heart would stop. And the tea got cold in the billy, for I cold and tasted a drop. I'd seen the same sickness of N, and my spirits began to droop, for as soon as he started coughin' I knowed as he'd got the croup. 'Twas 15 mile to the river, and Gogong was 25. And I thought 'twas a chance if ever I got him back home alive. The thought of the loss was horrid if the young un was taken away. And I went and leaned my forehead against the tire o' the dray. And sudden I started cryin', and sobbed like a woman too. For I felt that the boy was dyin', and I didn't know what to do. All helpless I was, and lonely. But I thought 'twas a coward's cry to call on the Savior only when trouble or death was nigh. But after a while I lifted my eyes to the steely blue of the sky, where something drifted like a great white cockatoo. And nearer it came, and nearer, right down to the branch of the tree. And it seemed when its shape grew clearer, like the form of a woman to me. For a moment it seemed to tarry, and pint away up the road, and then seemed pintin' at Harry, a coffin beneath the load. I don't want her arger. There's chances the vision was only the sky, or the smoke outlindy on the branches, or a lonely cloud on high. But I says 'twas a message from glory. I sees as you're going to chaff. Just wait till I done my story, and laugh if you want to laugh. Away went the vision flyin'. Up into the blue it went. And I stood for a minute train to think what its comin' meant. When it flashed on my brain like lightnin'. And arter I thought it strange I'd almost forgotten old BrightenÂ who lived on the top of the range. He lived on a small selection, or used to live there I knowed. And it lay in a west direction, 'bout 5 miles back from the road. I harnessed the horses quicker than ever I'd taken 'em out. And they must 'a thought me in liquor, for the way as I shoved 'em about. I'd allers been fond o' sneerin' and laughin' at women as ways. I could see in their lives, I am fearin', but little as called for praise. But now when I thought he'd smother with croup in the lonely wild, good God, how I longed for a mother to save the life of my child. I seed in a vision each minute the youngster nursed back into life. And the hand of a woman was in it. And the woman was BrightenÂ's wife. There's times when not knowing a blisses, as Harry's school teacher would say, and I didn't know BrightenÂ's missus had gone to the town that day. In a moment I'd lifted Harry to the bags on top of the load. And I flogged the weary horses along on the dusty road. But everything seemed to hinder my hopes when I reached the hut. For there wasn't a light in the winder. and both o' the doors was shut. That moment my heart got hurted, and I felt it for many a day, for I thought that the place was deserted, and Brighton had gone away. But I called, and the door was opened, and I saw that the hut was alight. It hadn't shone in the windows, for the moon was shining bright. And there in the door, with a candle, I saw old Brighton stand, with his fingers grasping the handle of a pistol he held in his hand. "If anyone moves," he shouted, "I'll fire if I've got to hang." For the moment he never doubted 'twas a visit from Gardner's gang. I didn't move in a hurry, for a man in a fright shoots quick. But I told him he needn't flurry, 'twas only a youngster sick. "Stand back," said old Brighton, snatching and shutting the door in his fright. "It's typhoid, maybe, he's cotchin', and I can't have him here tonight." But a woman's voice shouted, "What is it?" I'd never seen her before. She was only there on a visit. 'Twas Brighton's sister-in-law. And nothing seemed able to frighten this woman so pale and thin. She pushed from the door old Brighton, and carried the youngster in. She'd been hospital nurse in the city, I heard, and had got the sack for having a little pity, and exposing a doctor quack. Some trumped-up stories agin her all over the town was spelled, and in spite of the fighting in her they got her at last expelled. And, talkin' o' fight, I am fearin' there's sudden fighting in store for the first as speaks in my hearing gin Brighton's sister-in-law. For, in spite of old Brighton's cousin, she got the youngster to bed, and arter a week's goodness and she won him back from the dead. And then I began to hanker for a speech to tell her the joy I felt in my heart, and to thank her for giving me back my boy. The mornin' I left old Brighton's, while putting the horses to, I puzzled my brains to make up a speech as I thought would do. She lifted the youngster and kissed him, and helped him into the dray. And I thought of how I'd missed him, if he'd only been taken away. And, Mum, I say, I oughter, and to finish the speech I tries. But all on a sudden the water came bubbling up to my eyes, and down'ard, like water courses, the tears began to tear, and I had to swear at the horses to hide my weakness from her. But the tears was only human and they seemed to ha' done some good, for she pressed my hand like a woman, and said that she understood.